listening. We'll also talk a little bit about Zips, more projections as we are getting ready to see players on the field. Some over-unders, in the spirit of the big game this weekend. Everyone's going to go to a sportsbook. Maybe you're headed down to Potawatomi, going to drop a few friendly wagers on the game yourself. Well, these aren't actual wagers, but let's just go ahead and look at the Zips projections from this season a little bit deeper and just pick a number over-under for a handful of players on the Brewers. And then also we're going to talk a little bit of reaction to Brandon Woodruff in the piece by Todd Rosiak. This was a Q&A with Pat Murphy, and it's just one blurb, and I don't want to overreact to it, but we'll talk briefly about that and what it means for the pitching and the Brewers. With that being said, let's just start things around the league real quick. As again, I'm recording this Wednesday night, and if there is a big move that has been made, I've re-recorded this. So that means, as far as we know, Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso are still free agents. Now, I'll be talking about this throughout the program so it can still be topical in case something happens Thursday afternoon while I'm away from a microphone and in the air. The thought that there is smoke from Cubs camp that they are suddenly in the running for Alex Bregman. To which I say, why? Because it's not because they don't have a need for Alex Bregman. They certainly could use him. And I'm not saying Alex Bregman is a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I think, heck, he'd be a great fit on the Brewers, quite frankly. But for what it sounds like, the money that he's commanding and the years that he is asking for, it's just not a fit for the Brewers. And clearly, the other 29 teams as well, that he's still a free agent here in the first week of February. It seems as though they want to give the Cubs the third base job to Matt Shaw, their top prospect within the organization. He's a top 50 prospect or so, depending on who you ask, overall in the minor leagues right now. So he's somebody that they are very excited about to take over third base. So why would you sign Alex Bregman to a multi-year extension? And now you, yes, would have the left side of your infield locked up with Dansby Swanson and Alex Bregman, but you've still got prospects that are suddenly got nowhere to play right now and trying to figure out where they're going to go next. On that front, though, if Alex Bregman does indeed sign with the Cubs, I will believe the projections that we're getting at a little bit later on here on the program with Pacoda. But as it stands right now, I don't really think Alex Bregman is a good fit on the Cubs. I think he's a perfect fit on the Detroit Tigers, as we have all been saying all offseason long. Gets to reunite with A.J. Hinch with the Houston Astros days. I think he can be a leader on a young team. They've already re-signed Jack Flaherty. They have money to spend. I promise you they have money to spend, and I'm surprised they have not done so. And on that front, too, Pete Alonso. I mean, this is a guy, one of the leading home run hitters, just flat-out sluggers in baseball, that is still unsigned the first week of February. And Ken Rosenthal talked about it earlier this week on his program, Foul Territory, where this is the new tactic for the quote-unquote superstars. Bleed them out. Make them wait to the last possible moment in order to have leverage and not get the money that you may expect to give for somebody like that. The days of, Peter Seidlers of the world, may he rest in peace, just wheeling out money because of the star power and the brand name, those days are far beyond us. And you can make an argument that, yeah, the Dodgers are kind of doing that, but at the same time, the Dodgers' money that they're spending, you can argue is paying them what they're worth. I mean, quite frankly, Mookie Betts is on a pretty team-friendly contract, if we're being honest. Now, that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm trying to say, is that the Dodgers are, yes, paying for star power, but they're paying for quality star power in Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and now Roki Sasaki and all that sort of thing. So when it comes to star power, the big free agency deal, the big free agency payday, for a long time, we were all obsessed and sort of accustomed to records being broken. The Boris way, right? Records always being broken. And we're seeing that now slide over into the NFL, where you can't even understand it because the cap changes so much. And, all right, well, Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year deal. Okay, well, now all of a sudden Dak Prescott's the richest quarterback. Oh, wait, now Trevor Lawrence on AAV. And it all changes. The goalposts change so often in football. It's not happening anymore in baseball. And I wonder how the Players Union feels about that. But those are two guys I wanted to center in on as far as I can't believe they're still unsigned on the free agency front. We did see that Randall Grichuk signed with the Diamondbacks. He's a guy that I was shocked was still available at this point in the offseason. A pretty easy $5 million deal. I thought that's a pretty good fit for him to go back to Arizona. But you also have Andrew Heaney, who could give some good innings to somebody. Nick Pivetta can give good innings, but he's got the qualifying offer attached to him, which is why maybe some teams are hesitant to him. A guy like David Robertson can help anyone's bullpen. 15 years of experience. I'm not saying he's going to be a closer, but he can get a one-year deal somewhere. But we'll see how the rest of this shakes out, because once you get past Bregman and Alonso, we're pretty much done here when it comes to free agency. I mean, then you can still hear about a Nolan Arenado trade. Maybe we'll hear about a Ryan Helsley trade at some point too, because I don't know what the heck the Cardinals are thinking right now. But nonetheless, that's our quick peek around the league as we begin this episode of Brewers Weekly. Again, this is a taped edition of Brewers Weekly, so nothing to text or to call in about. But up next, let's talk about PECOTA and why everybody is mad and why the Brewers are being counted out again. Stay with us here on WTMJ.
Score big savings during Menards Super Sale. Get ready for game day with a 2-pound tub of braided pretzel twists. On sale for just $5.49. Assorted flavors of Sprecher craft soda in 16-ounce bottles are only $3.99 a 4-pack. Plus, save big on party tableware, chairs, grills, coolers, small appliances, and much more for game day get-togethers. Check the weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals going on now.
Save big money at Menards.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
For WTMJ contest rules, visit WTMJ.com/contests.
Save on the best quality furniture and mattresses during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture. With major discounts from our premier suppliers, you will save big bucks on top brands like Bradenton Young, made in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. Bradenton Young is known for its fine quality leather upholstery. Yours brings you modern Scandinavian design recliners and sofas, ergonomically engineered for more hip and back support. Norwalk, with American roots that go back over 100 years, specializes in making furniture just for you. Choose the piece, style, fabric, or leather you want, and in just 35 days, we'll deliver your new sofa, chair, or sectional. In-stock or special orders are all sale priced. Need a little help putting it all together? At Ken Michaels Furniture, our design staff is ready to help you with your purchases, and it's free. Stop in today and save now during the President's Day sale at Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
It's Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Welcome back. This is Brewers Weekly taped edition. Let's talk about the player empirical comparison and optimization test algorithm, aka PECOTA. This is from our friends at Baseball Prospectus. They've been on the forefront as far as projections go, and they've been doing PECOTA for a very long time. And straight from their website, PECOTA's definition: a system that takes a player's past performance and tries to project the most likely outcome for the following season. It looks at all the numbers, and all the numbers make up the numbers. So to see which players are more likely to repeat their success and which ones benefited from good fortune. And they've given explainers in the releases. You have subscriptions to this. I recommend subscribing to Baseball Prospectus and Fangraphs. We'll talk about Fangraphs and Zips, and we've talked about them before plenty on this show. This is a projection-heavy show at this point. But PECOTA, every February, puts out its standings. Now, pre-Fangraphs popularity and pre-kind of sports gambling's proliferance into Major League Baseball, PECOTA in Baseball Prospectus in printed form was sort of like Christmas in February, where you're like, all right, let's see what they think about my team. And this computer spits out an algorithm that says, you're a 500 team. And you say, no way. And we have been doing this since the beginning of time. It feels like of people saying, Pacoda disrespects your team, here's why. And I'm sick of it, quite frankly. I did this exact segment last season and the season before that, talking about how Pacoda, quote-unquote, disrespects the Brewers. Let's make something very, very clear. As somebody who is at times a propeller head, as baseball people would call it, a guy that understands the numbers and likes to use them to, qualitative and quantitative judgments on teams and players and that sort of thing. These computers are not perfect, no matter which system you are going to use. We can value the times that they're right, like we've showcased Zips being right about Jackson Chourio last season, and we also have to, wear it on the chin when the computer gets it wrong about how excited they are about a certain player and that sort of thing. So in this case, people like to dunk on Pacoda all the time. And I'm not necessarily here to do that, except for one thing. Dom, what's everyone actually mad about with Pacoda? Well, let me read you the projected standings for the National League Central according to Baseball Prospectus algorithm in Pacoda. The Cubs winning the division with 90 wins is their projection. 90 and 72. The Brewers in second at 81 and 81. Even maybe within the margin of error as 80 and 82 as a sub 500 team. Let me stop right there. I understand the Willy Adames factor. I understand why people are like, oh, well, they're going to have to replace Willy Adames. What are they going to do? Let me go back to 2022 for a second here, or 2021, for a second here. And let me tell you about the day that the Brewers signed Willy Adames. They obviously had cut ties with Arcia earlier in the year. They said Urias was going to be the shortstop, and it wasn't going well. When the Brewers acquired Willy Adames, there were doubters. There was plenty to doubt. He was hitting 197 with a 625 OPS the day the Brewers traded for him. Nobody knew what kind of impact he would have over the next 3+ seasons with the crew. That being said, there are players yet to make their big league debuts or yet to make their impact as an everyday big leaguer with the Brewers that, quite frankly, are being disrespected in projections like this. To say that a team that lost Willy Adames, I understand, is going to be under 500 with virtually the same cast coming back the next year, well, you may be saying, well, they lost Devin Williams too. Well, half the fan base certainly feels like, well, talk to me about Game 3. I get that. They only had him for 2 months of the year last year. So they essentially made it through A-OK, building their lead without Devin Williams. And the guy that is going to be closing games, Trevor McGill, he's back. He's healthy. By all intents and purposes, the bullpen should be just as good, if not better, than last season. Because they know the roles, they know what they have with Brian Hudson. They know what they have with Jared Koenig. And they've got more guys on the way, too. Returned to health by Abner Uribe. Need I remind you that Abner Uribe closed the first 3 games of the season in the sweep in New York? That's how highly the Brewers thought of Abner Uribe at the start of last season. And it's a knee surgery, not an elbow surgery. That's why I'm excited about Abner in the 2025 season. But as I continue on these projections, again, Cubs at 90 wins, Brewers at 80 wins, Cardinals at 78 wins, and that's where you lost me. They're actively shopping Nolan Arenado. They've lost Paul Goldschmidt. They've also should be shopping Ryan Helsley. They have an aging starting rotation, and I imagine if Arenado goes and Helsley goes, they have to listen to offers on Sonny Gray. Wilson Contreras is going to be a first baseman, I guess. They've got Jordan Walker still playing the outfield, even though he can play first base, and they want to put Wilson off of catcher and over to first base. I just don't understand why all these computers continue to be enamored with the St. Louis Cardinals. 4th place is the Pirates, 75 wins. Honestly, sorry, Pittsburgh. That's right on the money and maybe even a few too many wins. Paul Skeens could be the new Felix Hernandez by the end of his time in Pittsburgh because as of now, there is no shot he's going to sign an extension in Pittsburgh. There's no reason for him to. And he's going to be the Felix Hernandez, the Jacob deGrom of he goes and throws 7 2/3 of 1-run ball and loses because the Pirates lost 1-0. That's what I envision for the Pirates. And then finally, the Reds with 74 wins. Now, as I talk about all of this, I want to make it very clear about the NL Central real quick. There's no clearly tanking team, aside from the Cardinals, on this projection. Now, the Cardinals, again, projected at 78 wins. I imagine that's going to be much lower than that. So I know people are writing the headlines like, ooh, the Central looks like it's going to be competitive. I don't foresee St. Louis being competitive. And Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. I don't know what to think of them. I do think this is a 3-horse race. Milwaukee, Chicago, Cincinnati, in that order. Folks down in Chicago think that they're the favorites because they've brought in Kyle Tucker, they've brought in Ryan Presley, and if they get Bregman, cool. That certainly makes their team better. Doesn't make it worse by adding a quality player like Alex Bregman. But it's also just for 1 year if this is their good year. Kyle Tucker is going to test free agency. Alex Bregman, who knows what kind of deal he's going to get at this point in the season. Ryan Presley is a free agent to beat. I really like some of their back end of their bullpen, namely Porter Hodge. I think that kid's a stud. To be paired with Presley, I think is a great fit for them. I need to see Swanson bounce back. I need to see Horner bounce back. I think Michael Busch could be a star. Is he going to avoid a sophomore slump like a lot of the Brewers are hoping their players are going to avoid a sophomore slump? All that remains to be seen. But the point of all of this is to say it's February 6th, and we're talking about September, October standings. They're never right. I mean, last year, Pacoda had the Brewers at 79 wins. They won over 90 games. Last year, it had the Cardinals with 85 wins. We all know how that ended for them, too. Now, injuries happen every year. There's underperformers, there's overperformers. There's a lot of ways to work around your projection. But don't overreact and don't fall for the clickbait, because we do this every single year when the Pacoda projections come out and we say, wow, I can't believe Pacoda thinks so lowly of your team. You want to know who they think lowly of? Literally everybody that isn't the Dodgers. The Dodgers are projected for 104 wins, which is nuts when you think about it. They project also 2 other teams in their division to be above 500, which means those wins aren't coming from the division. They're coming from elsewhere. And aside from the Marlins and the Rockies, because God help them, the Rockies, there is no clearly tanking teams, multiple tanking teams. Those are the only 2 that are like clearly not trying to win this season. Now, the Cardinals could be in that boat too, depending on what they do with Arenado and with Helsley. So 104 wins, holy cow. I mean, it doesn't have anybody over 90 wins in the American League, including the Yankees. It has the Yankees and the Orioles as a tie, which I think is crazy. But that's Pacoda. It's computers. Nothing's perfect. But it gives something for me to talk about here on February 6th. Let's take a breather. Let's talk a little prospects, and let's talk a little Brandon Woodruff. Let's bring things back into the Brewers' perspective. Again, a taped version of Brewers Weekly this week, right here on your home of the Brewers, 620 WTMJ.
Warmer temps are on the way. It's time for the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin Spring Home Improvement Showcase on WTMJ. Get all the tips, tricks, and best practices to improve your home with our trusted partners, including Kohler Services, Yutka Fence, and Ridgetop Exteriors. So be listening for all of our interviews coming up on the air. Plus, we'll post everything for you. You can listen anytime at WTMJ.com. It's the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin Spring Home Improvement Showcase, only here on WTMJ.
In 1964, we were making strides towards space travel.
Mary Poppins was the #1 movie in theaters.
And the Beatles were taking America by storm.
Which was long before I was born.
Facts. 1964 is also the year it all started for Richlands Tire and Service Centers. 60 years of continuous growth and more happy customers than you can shake a stick at.
Okay, the streamers are a bit overkill. It's just us in the studio.
All right. But it's important to know accomplishments like these aren't possible without a dedicated team. So hats off to them and our founder, my dad, Dick Mitchke, for understanding the importance of customer focus.
Facts. There's no 60 years of anything without you, the customer, which is why our focus will remain on you and only you for years to come.
Thank you from all of us here at Richlands Tire and Service Centers.
Richlands Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richlands.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here. You've been dealing with it forever, right? That ankle pain or the back or knee pain. It was a nuisance at first, and you kind of just put up with it. Now it's nearly debilitating for you, and it's affecting everything you do. It's time to get rid of that. Let's get rid of that pain that's always just kind of been there. You don't even remember how long it's been now. Call QC Kinetics. Groundbreaking treatments for arthritis pain, long-term relief. It is possible. Joint pain doesn't get better with time. So before it's absolutely debilitating, see if you're a candidate for this life-changing regenerative treatment. No painkillers, no surgery, no downtime. QC Kinetics regenerative treatments are sweeping the nation. Patients right here in Southeast Wisconsin. They have a location in Mequon and another in Greenfield. Call QC Kinetics today for your free consultation. And if it's easier on your schedule, they're even open on Saturdays. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Call QC Kinetics today.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Welcome back here on Brewers Weekly. Our final Brewers Weekly before pitchers and catchers are playing glorified catch on the backfields of American Family Fields of Phoenix. This is a tape version this week, so sorry for anyone who had the text or call line plans tonight, but we'll be back live as scheduled next Thursday night on the 13th, and we will hear the pop of the gloves once again from Phoenix. One of the guys that we are going to be obviously kind of following around all spring training long is Brandon Woodruff. And we've talked about it plenty on this program, and I am repeating myself once again. But the fact of the matter is, Brandon Woodruff is not going to be 100% on opening day. And nor was I expecting him to be 100%. You want him to be as close to 100% as possible, of course. But as Pat Murphy talked about in a Q&A with Todd Rosiak of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, he's sort of hedged on what to expect from Yelly and Woodruff at the start of camp. This is the question from Rosiak is, what do you expect from Christian Yelich and Brandon Woodruff returning to injury in spring training in 2025? Pat Murphy, quote, I don't think either will be at 100% at the beginning of camp. And in Woody's case, I think we've got to realize what he's coming back from. He's coming back from a shoulder injury that is quite serious and doesn't always have a timetable that's conducive to spring training starting. So I think as of right now, Yelly would probably be ahead of him in terms of being game ready, and I think Woody's probably a little more realistically down the road. But you take them all very seriously. Let's quickly box up Christian Yelich. The back surgery seemed like everything was going well at the end of the regular season last year. He was back in the dugout. He was walking around. He's posted a workout video again back in Southern California. I have not seen him swing a bat yet, but I imagine that'll all come up as it needs to during spring training. Now, back to Woodruff. As I've said before, I'll say it again. The Brewers have options to choose from in their opening day rotation. Furthermore, you can stretch a guy out at the start of camp much easier than it is to tell a guy he's a reliever and then try to stretch him out by the end of camp if it's then determined that Woodruff is not going to be available. What I mean by that, DL Hall and Aaron Ashby are going to audition as starters. And something else could happen along the way too. That first week, the 2 weeks of spring training when live games are beginning is kind of the minefield of pitchers' arms. And we'll talk about it when we get to that point too. But the fear of everybody's like, all right, we got to keep an eye on that guy. That's coming. And someone, I've got a little forearm tightness, I've got a little tingle, I don't know what it is. Those headlines are going to come by the end of February. So be ready for those. And that's where the Brewers' depth is going to come in handy. Furthermore, what the Brewers have going for them in April and coming into the first 2 weeks of the season, they are scheduled to have 3 off days in the first 23 days of the season, meaning they can have a pretty regular rotation before they get into one of their longer stretches. They have a really long stretch later in the season, but then they're going to have a 10-game-in-a-row stretch from April 18th to the 27th. And is Brandon Woodruff going to start to be factored in by then? Is he going to start to be factored in more toward May? Who knows? But you've got, I'll say it again, Peralta, Myers, Savali, Cortez, Ashby, Hall, Henderson. If Mizorowski turns heads, Mizorowski. You've got options that you can say, even Carlos Rodriguez is still on the 40-man roster, right? You've got guys that can fill a hole until Woodruff comes back. And oh, by the way, know who else is due back at some point this year is Robert Gasser. And that is going to be a boost come second half of the season if everything goes according to plan for him. I imagine on a general timeline by now, he's probably playing catch, flat grounds right now. He's nowhere near him out at this point, but I imagine we'll get some updates on Robert Gasser in the next couple of weeks. So I wanted to get that first when it comes to Woodruff and his health and Christian Yelich, and we'll get more once we actually get on the ground in Phoenix. But also, let's talk real quick about the top 100 prospects from ESPN, Kylie McDaniel's list, and what he sees for the Brewers. And once again, another bit of love for Jesus Made, and he's in his top 100 as well. We actually had a chance to catch up with Kylie McDaniel earlier this week. My thanks to ESPN for giving us access to him. And I just simply asked him, this dude's 17 years old, and he's a consensus top 100 prospect who hasn't played stateside. What gives? Here's Kylie's answer.
It doesn't happen a lot that I think he got just under $1 million. So he's one of the top, 20, 30 bonuses in the class. The top 5 to 10 bonuses in the class typically skip the DSL, go domestic. And if you play for the Padres, you skip the domestic complex and go straight to low A, which is what DeVries did, who was in that same class. So because we're seeing him at this age at the DSL, we don't get to compare him to the best guys in this signing class who then went domestic, or in DeVries' case, went to low A. But when we look at that, the amount of polish he showed as a hitter in all of the advanced metrics of, pitch selection, lifting the ball, exit velos, like all those various things that we didn't really have. You could eyeball it, get an idea. It wouldn't have been appreciated the same way 7 or 8 years ago when we didn't have all these metrics in the DSL to really compare them. He has an amazing amount of polish, but he's not a 6'4", 180, is going to put on 40 pounds of muscle, is going to continue growing. What these metrics sort of assume is that what he's doing at this level in terms of the polish and what he's showing is that will continue at this rate. He will improve as fast or faster than the level of competition increases. His power will increase linearly as he goes, which it will not because he doesn't have amazing physical projection. So he is precocious in that way that the question is, how much is he going to improve? Is that all sort of a now ability that's an amazing performance for a 17-year-old? Will it be an amazing performance in AA as a 19-year-old? I don't think it will be. I think he's definitely a good everyday player. The issue is a lot of times, which I mentioned in the blurb, is if you're looking at a guy that let's say you're watching a guy in rookie ball that will be a big league superstar like Mookie Betts, you would assume him to completely dominate that level to a point where he almost looks bored, which is what Made did. That doesn't mean he will then be that guy. Like I've been clickbaited a few times when somebody on here asked me, like, how good was Mike Trout when he was 19? It's like, well, he was the 6th highest high school draftee in his class. Oh, well, Jason Dominguez got the highest bonus in his class. He was ahead of Mike Trout at the same spot in his career. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's assuming that like these two guys just move like this right next to each other for the rest of time. Like that's not how baseball players or people sort of matriculate through life. So Made started like at the very top at 17. He probably will not be the best player of all time. That's currently what he's tracking as, but he's probably going to move down a few notches over time as the 6'3", 180 gangly giraffe guys get bigger and stronger and turn into other stuff. So that, to me, that's the interesting part for him, is what is it going to look as he goes up each level, because it's starting at such an otherworldly place that you don't really know what to do with that. In the same way that Chandler Simpson is like hard to make a comp for, because it's like, who's done this before?
He's seen a lot of baseball. He understands the role and what goes into it. So I can't wait to see it, and I will try to get video of him when I'm down in spring training. Okay, let's play some games. Let's do some over-unders. Let's look at the Zips projections, starting with the offense coming up next. Brewers Weekly, taped edition, rolls on after this on WTMJ.
So how would I describe our people? I'd say the people we set out to hire have to be smart, hardworking, and honest. Honesty being paramount of the three. Because honesty breeds integrity, and when you have integrity, you won't let yourself do anything less than your best, and that's who we're looking for. Character counts here, and integrity matters. That's why it's easy for us to offer the industry's best lifetime workmanship warranty with every roof we sell. A rock-solid warranty like ours guarantees our reputation and assures your satisfaction. At Semper Fi, we do the right thing. We seize the moral high ground, and we hold it. And when you do that, you end up having a business that's going to last for generations. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi to keep you safe, warm, and dry.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Anti-Heartbreak Officer Brian Wickert. While national headlines talk about the inventory of homes for sale being a lot higher this year, that's still not the case in most of Wisconsin. The good news is that now, even in winter, Accunet's experienced loan consultants are already helping many of our pre-approved home shoppers become homeowners and avoid the heartbreak of losing in a multi-offer situation. Sure, you can go with a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval, or you can present your offer with an Accunet rock-solid, fully verified, and guaranteed pre-approval that also might come with the phrase that really makes sellers happy: no appraisal required. When an appraisal is needed, we can also show you in dollars and cents what it means to willingly pay a certain dollar amount over the appraised value if that's what's needed to win, which is usually a lot less scary than people imagine. Reduce your risk of home shopper heartbreak by getting started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval at Accunet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Okay, as usual, I'm running long, so we're going to have to keep flying through on the program tonight. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Brewers Weekly taped edition continues here on your home of the Brewers, WTMJ. Again, I'm getting ready to go on vacation. This is my last weekend without baseball until the end of October. So let's take a little R&R and get recharged and ready to go for the end of the offseason. And again, I will be live at spring training right when position players report. Be there for the entirety of spring training and get ready to bring you the best content here across our channels and across our stations here at Good Karma Brands, whether it be here on WTMJ or on ESPN Milwaukee and all of our other friends within the family. Now, I've assembled a few Zips numbers specifically. We talked about Zips a couple episodes ago. Let's talk specifically a few over-under numbers. These will be a couple of quick segments. First, we'll do the offense. We'll take a break. Then we'll do the pitching. And not as many over-unders that are as interesting on the pitching side of things, so we'll fly through that segment as well. First and foremost, the offense. Everyone loves home runs. Everyone talks about dingers. And there's obviously a fear when you're losing your leading home run hitter in Willy Adames. So I've got three names here that I want to point out for Zips. This is Fangraphs projections on over-unders for home runs. Let's start with Rhys Hoskins. He was second on the team in home runs last year with 26. And might I add, it was a very quiet 26. I felt like we kind of forgot that Rhys Hoskins almost had a 30-homer season in his first year coming back from ACL surgery after missing an entire season. Plus, congratulations to Rhys and Jamie. New dad strength. A baby arrived this past offseason. Congratulations to the Hoskins family. Zips projects him for 23 home runs, so 3 fewer than he hit last year. Now, mind you, he missed a couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. He homered in that series in Philly coming out of that hamstring injury, hit a bit of a funk in July and August, and started to get going in September, but then was absent with many other veterans in the wild card series. If you're interested on 23 homers, over or under, I would hope to venture it's over, but seems likely it's going to be right around 26 again. Now, if you get 30 homers again out of Rhys Hoskins like he was with Philly, now that's going to be a very productive season for him and for the Brewers. Moving on. More homers. William Contreras, the best catcher in baseball. 20 home runs is the Zips projection. He hit 23 last year. And I think this kind of goes hand in hand with how many games is he actually going to catch this season? How aggressive are they going to be in giving him days off by the end of the season? Or will he continue to play as often as he did last year? When it comes to William, it's his world. He wants to catch every day. Zips projected him for 135 games and 567 plate appearances. Well, that would be 18 fewer games than he played in last season, but only 30 fewer plate appearances, 100 fewer plate appearances. I think this is the over just simply because he's always going to play more games than the projections say he's going to. They project for 20. I'm going to go with the over on that one. And then finally, one more home run note. Jackson Chourio. He's also listed at 20 homers. He hit 21 last year, and that was with an abysmal first half. I think this is a no-brainer, an over for Jackson Chourio in 2025. Let's go to a couple of rate stats here from young players. Sal Frelick's on-base percentage. Zips has him. Zips is a big fan of Sal Frelick. A .333 on-base percentage is what they're projecting this season. Last year, he had a .320 on-base percentage. Mind you, league average is just barely above 300. So if he's an above-average on-base guy, I know he's a slap hitter and an average guy. He's not here to hit homers. He's here to get on base and steal. .333, that's a big jump. I go under, but I still think it's going to be over last year's total. Somewhere in the 325, 330 range is where I see Sal Frelick, because I also worry, are the Brewers going to platoon him in 2025? Next, Garrett Mitchell's slugging percentage. And this is where plate appearances get a little tricky for Garrett. Last season, he had a .469 slugging percentage. But mind you, that was only in 80-some games, right? Or he's projected for 85 games this season. He only played in 69 games last season. So in 100 more plate appearances in the projections, they're putting him at a .414 slugging percentage. 100 more plate appearances, that's a lot of time for a slugging to go down. .469, that seemed really high, but you heard him in his interview with us here. Scroll back in your podcast feeds, or you can find it on YouTube. We had him on the show. He never stopped hitting, and he feels great about where he's headed into 2025. I think .450 is a good number. So it's under .469, but .450 would be amazing to have out of Garrett Mitchell. Finally, a couple fun ones. Let's do stolen bases real quick here. Christian Yelich, projected at 20. He had 21 last year, only playing about 2/3 of the season, and he had a bad back for a lot of it. Give me the over on that. And also give me the over on Bryce Terang. Projected at 36, he had 50 last year. Now, I don't think he's going to get 50 again. But I could see him getting to 40. And I think that would be an awesome accomplishment for Bryce Terang in this stolen base environment that we're in. All right, take a quick breather. Come back with more with the pitching side of the over-unders after this on WTMJ.
Many times, patients have symptoms they didn't know were actually related to their airway breathing issues.
I was suffering from sinus issues, jaw issues, and neck pain. I guess I just kind of had my breaking point.
Unfortunately, this is typical. But until you get to the root of your problem, it's going to just persist. Fortunately, Jody took action, and the results were typical as well.
My quality of life is so different. But one of the first things that I noticed was my breathing. I don't ever remember being able to breathe like that.
Being able to breathe freely is life-changing, and the effects can go beyond that.
Sleeping better, having more energy, and it seemed as if all of those symptoms that I had just melted away.
And thank heavens for that, because at Advent, results are what drive us, helping you breathe well so you can live better.
Results may vary. Most insurance accepted.
I haven't had anything to eat for days, and being hungry hurts.
Going without oil changes can destroy your engine, but it doesn't compare to the effect of going without food. That's why the Automobile Dealers Association of Metro Milwaukee is determined to make sure no one goes to bed hungry. Through March 1st, they'll donate $1 from every oil change to Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 14 years, Adam has donated over $890,000, providing more than 2.6 million meals to people across southeast Wisconsin, the majority being children and seniors. And with today's ongoing challenges, the need is greater than ever. So help the hungry while helping your vehicle. Get your oil changed by Adam Dealer Factory Trained Techs at a price as low or lower than independent shops. Visit an Adam member dealer near you.
For a list of participating dealers, visit adamm.com.
James Imaging Systems, your local document imaging partner. JamesImaging.com.
Winning in the NFL comes down to the basics, blocking and tackling. In retirement, protection and income are the keys to success. Simply put, if you're nearing or in retirement, you can't afford a stock market crash. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons. Having played on winning teams with the Steelers and Falcons, studying game film was a key to success. Now I'm a best-selling author and star in a new groundbreaking documentary film called The Retirement Deception. It unveils how the Wall Wall Street machine has been deceiving us for decades and proves you don't need to risk your nest egg in the market to have the retirement you deserve. This film shows you exactly how to protect your retirement from stock market drops and produce more income than you thought possible. I want you to watch this film for free. Call today for your free copy of The Retirement Deception. I think you would agree 30 to 40 years of saving for retirement is at least worth a phone call to watch this film and see how you can improve your retirement. Call today to speak with an all-pro retirement specialist to get your free copy of The Retirement Deception. Call 844-763-2837. That's 844-763-2837. MitchLyonsWealth.com. Your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
I've got about 4 minutes for this segment to get through on this over-under edition of Brewers Weekly, the Zips portion of the show. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Taped version this week once again. As we get near the top of the hour here on WTMJ, we're going through Fangraphs Zips projections on the Brewers and just sort of politely saying yes or no, over or under. And I've only got 4 here to talk about. But first, I want to talk about Brandon Woodruff, who we've already talked about at nauseum all offseason long with Woody. I can't wait for like June to come around and he's starting to look like himself again. And he's starting to pitch better. Maybe we've seen the velo tick back up, whatever it may take. But Brandon Woodruff projected for 81 innings this season. And quite frankly, 81 innings, that would be somewhere in the ballpark of, 17-ish starts, 17 to 19 starts. If they're all short, maybe he builds his way back up. If he's averaging 5 innings a start, that's 17 starts or so. I think that's right on the money, quite frankly. Maybe slightly over, but to me, if Woodruff can get into triple digits on innings, that's a successful season. Regardless, he's going to test free agency waters next year, not to get ahead of ourselves. But if he can get to 100 innings, wow, that means A, he's effective, and B, he's healthy, which would be awesome. But I think 81 is kind of right on the nose for Zips projections. Another innings projections goes to Freddie Peralta. And I think this is a really important number for the Brewers. Last year, he had 173 innings. Led the team. Zips projected essentially 2 fewer starts, 160 innings, so technically not a qualified starter. I do think Freddie Peralta is going to be a qualified starter. I do think it's going to be in that 175 neighborhood just like last season, but think about it. In the middle of the year, from May to June, we're kind of all scratching our heads like, shouldn't he be going longer? He had such a great start to the season. There were definitely opportunities for him that he couldn't get out of a 6th inning, right? He threw too many pitches, a few too many walks, that 3rd time through the order. I wonder what adjustments he's able to make to try to get past that 175 plateau. Now, 200 innings, it's very rare these days. If you get 175, that's considered a good season. Even being a qualified starter is a good season. But for the projection at 160, I hope it's over. 2 more here. Abner Uribe. Strikeouts per 9, 10.7. I think that's a bit high. And here's why. I don't think he's going to be the closer. That's going to go to Trevor McGill. We'll talk about him in a second. His sinker doesn't call for strikeouts. He struck out guys in the minor leagues because simply they had never seen something like that before. Guys in the minor leagues with velo accelerate through systems because, lesser hitters aren't able to hit velo. In his brief time in the big leagues in 2023, yes, it was 11.45, but that was because he had slider command. I really want to see that slider command from Abner Uribe, so I'm taking the under on 10.7 strikeouts per 9 for Uribe in 2025. And then finally, this is an easy over for me, Trevor McGill. Projected at 45 games this season. He had 48 last year, and he took over the closer role, mind you. He's going to pitch in more games as a closer if he's healthy. Remember, he missed a little bit of time when he had the comebacker. He had the concussion in the beginning of the season. He had a weird start to the year. If he's going to be your closer, if he's going to be relied upon in close games, I could see him surpassing 50 very easily. So those are our over-unders here for offense and pitching. Let's get ready to wrap up the program after this on 620 WTMJ.
Steve Scafidi is your guide through the world of politics.
Milwaukee County District Attorney Kent Lovern joins us in studio.
Well, certainly at a community level, there's still a great concern about violent crime as it pertains to gun violence, certainly, and also what I view as violent crime, which includes the reckless driving. We have to have a strong response to those types of crime.
On the Political Power Hour.
Flesh out strong response for me.
When I say strong response, it means jail or prison, depending on the facts and circumstances of the case.
Weekday mornings from 9 to 10 on WTMJ.
Team up with the Brewers for an epic company event this season. Gather your crew of just 15 or more for a Brewers group outing and trade weekday meetings for a fun-filled day at American Family Field. Featuring options like tailgate spaces, all-inclusive areas, seating blocks, and more. Plus, Brewers ticket representatives will make planning your event easy, as they'll be your concierge while you book your event. Start planning your company outing today at brewers.com/groups.
For over a century, local radio has evolved with the needs of the community. From politics to pop culture, we keep you informed, bringing you the most relevant news, online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Here at Richlands, we offer both comfort service and expert service.
Our comfort service comes with movie theater popcorn, hot gourmet coffee, upfront pricing, on-time scheduling, plus anything else we can do to keep you comfortable.
Put that on top of honest service from the most friendliest, hard-working people you'll ever meet inside a tire and service center. And well, we'd like to believe we're on the right track to meeting your expectations.
But when your check engine light, tire light, or any other light screams, "Service me," well, that means you're due for our other type of service.
Our expert service. Tires, brakes, belts, mufflers, transmissions, and even engine repair.
Come on into Richlands and put our expert service to the test.
And while you're relaxing, enjoy our comfort services too. I'm Brett Matchke with Richlands, your
due for service.
Since 1964, we've changed your tires and so much more. Richlands Tire and Service, such a refreshing change. Richlands.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. This is Brewers Weekly on WTMJ.
Okay, now we get ready to say goodnight here on WTMJ. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for bearing with us here on this taped edition of the program. Again, live again next week, back to normal here on the home of the Brewers, 8 o'clock Central Time like usual. Everyone will be calmed down from the Chris Middleton trade by then. Maybe there's been another seismic move in the NBA that I haven't been able to talk about today because, well, this is taped. So whatever happened in the future, to future me, you won't even believe it. But anyway, we're back live next week on the 13th. Then we're not live on the 20th because the Bucks are playing. But then, that first week of games, we'll have the broadcast schedule out here shortly on WTMJ for what to expect this spring. But that first week of games, we're going to have a ton of elevated coverage from Phoenix, from spring training. One-on-ones with a bunch of guys. If you listen to my content before, you know what's coming. We'll have one-on-ones with Matt Arnold, with Pat Murphy, with players of interest, of note, and have some fun for 3 shows that final week of February when games are actually beginning. I can't wait. It's going to be here before we know it. I can see the sun, I can feel the warmth, and I can hear my golf clubs begging for me to take them out of the closet. Nonetheless, spring training is right around the corner. My thanks to you for listening this far into the program. Real quick, one little request at the start of the year. If you drop a rating or a review of the show on the podcast feed, we'd really, really appreciate it as we get ready to start the coverage of the 2025 season. Our producer has been Nate Rilling. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. Keep on swinging.
What we've found is that when you have workers who feel valued, you get better results. This is why good people and good culture should matter to anyone looking for an exterior remodeling company they can trust. It's going to be your experience and the end result that gives you peace of mind, because you'll know your work was done by people who care. We realized early on that if we were going to change the reputation of this industry for the better, that finding good workers that you could trust to do great work was going to be the key. We're attracting good people every day because we take care of our people. We want to make sure they feel important because they are. And we're going to make sure you feel important and valued too, with excellent customer service and high quality work. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company. For your new roof, siding, window and door installation, or masonry work, you can count on Semper Fi.